Solving one- and two-step equations. An equation is a mathematical sentence that includes an equals sign. The solution to an equation is a value for the variable that makes the equation true. An equivalent equation is an equation that has the same solution as the original equation. Solving equations involves using the properties of equality to change the equation into equivalent equations with the goal of isolating the variable. The most important properties for solving equations are the properties of equality. We can add, subtract, multiply, or divide both sides of an equation by the same number to get an equivalent equation. Also, we use the inverse properties. Adding the opposite of a number is equal to 0. Multiplying a number by its reciprocal will equal 1. The identity properties are properties that allow us to get the same number back. When we add 0 to a number, we get the same number. When we multiply a number by 1, we get the same number. The associative and commutative properties mean that we can add or multiply numbers in any order. Finally, the distributive property allows us to simplify multiplication of a number by a sum. Let's start with one-step equations with addition. In these, we isolate the variable by adding the opposite of a number. Look at the first example. Draw a line through the equal sign. Whatever we do on one side of the line, we must do on the other side as well. Our goal is for x to be alone on one side of the equation. So we want to get rid of the plus 5 that is with the variable. To do this, we add a negative 5 to both sides of the equation. This gives us x plus 0, or x, on the left, and 11 minus 5, or 6, on the right. Our solution is x equals 6. The property we used was the subtraction property of equality. Now pause the video and try the next example yourself. Now that you have tried it, check your work. In this case, we have a negative 10 on the same side as the x, so we will add 10 to both sides of the equation. This gives us x plus 0 on the left, or x, and on the right 2 plus 10, or 12. Our solution is x equals 12. The property we used was the addition property of equality. In one-step equations with multiplication, we use the inverse property of multiplication to isolate the variable. In the first example, x is multiplied by 3. If we divide both sides of the equation by 3, we get 3 over 3 times x, or 1x, on the left, and 7 divided by 3 on the right, or 7/3. Our solution is x equals 7/3. The property we used was the division property of equality. In the next example, x is divided by 4. The inverse operation to division is multiplication. Multiply both sides of the equation by the denominator 4. This gives us 4 over 4 times x, or 1x, on the left, and 5 times 4 on the right, or 20. Our solution is x equals 20. The property we used was the multiplication property of equality. The trick when the coefficient of x is a fraction is to use the inverse property of multiplication. Turn the fraction upside down and multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the fraction. In this case, the reciprocal of negative 3/4 is negative 4/3. Multiply both sides by negative 4/3. This gives us 1x on the left, or just x, and 9 times negative 4/3 on the right, which is negative 36 divided by 3. Our solution then is x equals negative 12. Pause the video now and try the next example yourself. Now that you have tried it, check your work. Multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 3/7, which is 7/3. This gives 1x, or x, on the left, and when we multiply straight across, 42 over 63 on the right. Simplify the fraction by dividing the numerator and the denominator by the same number. The simplified solution then is x equals 2/3. In two-step equations, we must decide what to eliminate first. Look at the side of the equation that includes the variable. Start with the number that does not touch the variable, in this case plus 4. Add -4 to both sides of the equation. Using the subtraction property of equality then, we get 7x equals 6. Now divide both sides of the equation by 7, giving us x equals 6/7. Our solution then is x equals 6/7, and we have used two properties of equality. Pause the video here and try the next example yourself. Now that you have tried it, check your work. First, look for the number that is not touching x on the left side of the equation. That is -10, so add 10 to both sides of the equation. This leaves x divided by 2 equals 13. Now multiply both sides of the equation by the denominator under x. Multiply both sides by 2. This gives us our solution, x equals 26. To solve this equation, we used two properties of equality. First, we used the addition property of equality to add 10 to both sides. Then we used the multiplication property of equality to multiply both sides by 2. When the equation has a denominator under an expression, we must start by eliminating that denominator, in this case -2. By choosing to put the negative in the denominator, I avoid having to change both signs in the numerator. Multiply both sides of the equation by -2. This leaves the numerator unchanged, for 3x plus 4 equals -14. Now we can solve as we did above. Subtract 4 from both sides, for 3x equals -18. Divide both sides by 3, for x equals -6. In the last example, use distribution before solving. This means multiply the number outside the parentheses by both terms inside the parentheses. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times -7 is -21. Now solve as usual. Add 21 to both sides, for 3x equals 24. Now divide both sides by 3. The solution then is x equals 8. Please refer to these notes as you complete your homework. Thank you.